over 60% of the candidates who have enrolled for PhD either drop out or take double the expected time, not because they are less intelligent or less talented, but because they just chose the wrong model. If you are a working professional considering a PhD, then today's video might just save you 5 to 7 years of your life. If you are watching this video for the first time, hi, I'm Atya. I make high quality videos around research and higher education thrice a week, and I would really appreciate if you could take a moment and subscribe to this channel. Let's get one thing clear. The demand for PhDs from working professionals is exploding right now. The first reason being credential inflation. Just a master's degree is no longer a differentiator in many fields. Policy, analytics, AI, consulting, and research heavy roles. Employers increasingly value original thinking, not just a degree on paper. A PhD still signals that when done right. Many professionals hit a ceiling at their 30s or their 40s. A PhD looks like an intellectual asset. There are so many common myths around PhD. It is just slower, not harder. I'll manage it with discipline. My supervisor will guide me, and all this is just false optimism. A part-time PhD is not just a time problem. It's a systems problem, and this is where most people fail. The part-time PhD viability framework. I use this framework every time to determine whether a working professional should even attempt doing a part-time PhD. We would be speaking about 5 different factors. First is structural fit. How is a part-time PhD different from rest of the other modes? Second, cognitive load reality. What is the pressure and what are the different things that you need to do in your part-time PhD? Research design strategy. How do you design a question? What are the objective requirements for this? Fourth is post-PhD option. What is your viability as far as your post-PhD options are concerned? How is the job market for you? And fifth one is hidden constraint. What are the different fees? What are the things that usually people don't tell you? Because this channel is about reality. You miss even one of these and your PhD turns into a long, silent liability. Structural fit. This is where amateurs start wrong. They ask, can I get admission part-time? Experts ask, is the institutional structure built for part-time success? Structural fit actually means you have a supervisor available for you, not maybe all the time, but at least one phone call or one WhatsApp message away. Administrative flexibility. You are a working professional. You won't be able to visit institute every now and then. Are the stakeholders ready for that? Clear milestones, not vague expectations. There will be a difference in communication with your supervisor as well as other stakeholders as far as your PhD is concerned. How do you manage and navigate that? An amateur move is choosing a supervisor just because he or she is famous or they are available. An expert move is choosing a supervisor who is aligned with your personality and who knows about your work-life balance and your expectations. If the department that you are planning to get admitted cannot explain expected weekly workload, publication milestones which are expected from you, and extension rules, if some time is being taken by you to complete the objectives. If your department cannot explain these 3, walk away. Cognitive load reality. This is actually the invisible killer. A PhD is not just time consuming. It is consuming your identity. You are not studying. You are holding a constantly unresolved intellectual problem in your head. Now combine that with a full-time job, family responsibilities, and social obligations. Cognitive science is clear. Context switching between deep research and operational parameters is extremely costly for your brain. If your job already requires deep thinking, strategy, coding, research, policy. You narrow down your PhD topic so that you are able to get outcomes and make things easy for you. Research design strategy. This layer or this step is actually where most of the part-time PhDs die, and it is the most underestimated layer. Your research should compensate or should combine with what you do in your workplace. If you are working, say suppose on cell lines or on a particular topic, then your PhD also has to be related to it. This may sound obvious, but if it is not, it can really cost you a lot of depression. One thing that working professionals can leverage is whatever your workplace which is there, you can use data from there. You also have industry access that most of the full-time PhDs don't have. You know what are the policies, what are the regulations around guidelines, around the government initiatives which are present. As a practitioner, as a working professional practitioner, your insights and your strengths have been developed. In this case, you have an edge over other students. So use these things for the benefit of your PhD. If your PhD topic has zero overlap with what you do in your workplace, your chances of getting dropped out of the program increase dramatically. Post-PhD options. This is where students get emotional, or working professionals get emotional, I should say. The first thing that I want you to do is ask yourself, why are you taking admission for a part-time PhD? Is it because you need a promotion at your current workplace? You have worked there for several years, now you want a promotion. Is it because of that? So is it because of authority and signaling? Or you want to get into academia. You have worked in the industry, you need a PhD to survive and thrive in academia as assistant professors or as scientists. Now that reason will decide how you move the ladder. The next thing that I want to tell is part-time PhDs face structural bias. A lot of the times I have seen part-time PhD students be considered less as compared to full-time ones. So what you need to do is overcompensate on your visibility. Where you are working, there only do more work, publish more, publish early, network aggressively. Your most valuable asset is your network and your professional behavior. No one and nothing can come close to that. You can use it to leverage your part-time PhD. If you position yourself correctly, then a part-time PhD can be much strategically superior. And don't forget that. Layer 5 is hidden constraints. Things that government doesn't tell you, things that people around you don't tell you, but main hu na, I will expose the system for you, don't worry. There is something that I need to tell you. A part-time PhD is not same as a distant or online PhD. UGC strongly discourages online or distance mode PhD. A part-time PhD is where you visit the institute, but you are not able to visit it every now and then. Online or distant mode PhD completely happen when you are not in touch with the institute at all. Let's have a look at the UGC regulations around part-time PhD. The first is PhD programs through part-time mode will be permitted provided all the conditions stipulated in these regulations are fulfilled. What are those conditions? First of all, you need to have a no objection certificate from your employer before applying for part-time PhD. Your employer needs to know that you will be pursuing part-time PhD from this institute and from so-and-so supervisor. The candidate is permitted to pursue studies on a part-time basis. His or her official duties permit him or her to devote sufficient time for research, and also if required, he or she will be relieved from the duty to complete the coursework. Okay, this is why employer NOC is really important, because coursework is present for part-time as well as full-time PhDs, right? If there are exams, then you should be allowed duty leaves to visit the institute. The last one, which is no higher educational, institutional or research institution of the central government or state government shall conduct PhD programs through distance or online mode. Okay, this is what I was saying. So if your mind is going diverted in online mode or distant mode, usko leke aao. A part-time PhD is not just a study cum job. It's actually a contract between you, your current employer, and the institute where you will be enrolling for your PhD. The next thing that I want to show you is a fee receipt. Okay, we will compare both full-time and part-time fees. So let's go on screen. This is the latest fee demand from my institute. I just needed to show you so that you get an idea of how much you have to pay. क्योंकि पैसा बोलता है. So as far as the latest semester is concerned, let's zoom into 2025. Okay, these are the latest receipts. For full-time students, the fee was 27,500. As of now, we are speaking about just semester fees. No mess, no hostel, no accommodation, nothing. Just purely semester fees. Same for part-time students or the students for aspirant scheme is 55,000. So it is almost the double. So if you go for hostel or if you go for mess, then your fees increase dramatically, which you don't have to do because as part-time student, you are not expected that you will stay in hostel or mess, but just for information's sake, I'm telling you. Second thing that I want to say is part-time PhD students never get a stipend. Whatever facilities of the institutes are, the basic facilities, Wi-Fi and everything that you will get. But otherwise, if there is any fellowship or if there is any travel reimbursement, then usually part-time students do not get that. The next thing is what figures I have shown you now. These are semester fees. At the time of admission, the amount that you have to pay will be considerably increasing because there are several fees associated with it at the time of admission. So I wanted to show you this so you can get an idea and plan your expenses accordingly. I have been in education sector for more than 10 years and in research sector for past 6 to 7 years. Balancing a part-time PhD with your work is not a joke, and I have seen good highly talented people getting burnt out in the process. Time management and well-being management is a must for you, okay? Because here you are not just competing for time, you are competing even for attention. Let's say you have a 9 to 5 job. How will you schedule research into this? Is your intellect and your expertise. For that, you require really focus, cutting down on TV and on different social activities. That is the only way to balance PhD as well as your workplace and the job that you are doing. For a part-time PhD, institute will matter more than supervisor. I will tell why I'm saying that. If you are on this channel even for some time, you know I have advocated that for PhD, the most important thing that you need to look for is a good supervisor. Now, in case of a part-time PhD, your contact with your supervisor or with your institute is already less. It is already less, okay? It's the limiting factor. If you have a PhD from a good institute, then they will not care whether it is part-time or full-time. Generally, someone chooses a part-time PhD when they want an upgrade in their existing career. They already have a job, they already have a business, they want to upgrade that. Then they will go for a part-time PhD. For you, anyways, the contact with the institute, the contact with the supervisor will be less. So you go for an institute which is of national eminence, which is really popular, which has good credentials, so that whoever is your employer or whoever is the person who is evaluating you won't care whether your PhD is done part-time or full-time. Third thing that I want to tell you is how many times you visit your institute will depend totally on your interaction between your supervisor. I have seen PhD students, what they generally do is if they are within the state, they will visit the labs or their PIs on every Saturdays. That said, it is always better to meet your PI every week if you stay in the same state, or every few months. You can schedule the visits accordingly, or every few months if you are away from the PI. If offline meetups are not possible, you can of course schedule online meetups and discuss the strategies. The fourth thing that I want to tell from my own experiences, if you are 28 and above, if you are 28 in age and above, then mostly you have family responsibilities. You already have some experience at least, okay? In that case, go for a part-time PhD. I enrolled for a full-time PhD when I was 28, and I did it because I had a working fellowship. When I cleared NET, I cleared JRF. Usually people clear LS, then they work and they get some experience. They will then go for a full-time PhD using the JRF or institute fellowship, whatever. In my case, when I cleared the NET, it got cleared straight JRF. So I had a working fellowship option open. Just because of that, I enrolled for a full-time PhD. इतना घिसने की जरूरत नहीं. You already have academic credentials in your favor. You already have things in your favor. Going for a full-time PhD where most of your colleagues are just out of college and you are experienced is probably a bad move. In my case also, sometimes I feel I made a mistake by going in for a full-time PhD. But considering the things that have happened to me in all these years, the guidelines are the same. Okay, the guidelines are the same. Most part-time PhDs don't fail because of lack of intelligence. They fail because they have never stress tested their caliber. If you are someone who is in two minds, whether you should go for PhD or no, and if you want to go for a PhD, then whether it should be full-time or part-time, then I have devised this questionnaire for you. It is 100 marks. There are questions in it, and you will be getting scores based on your each answer. At the end of the questionnaire, whatever score you get will decide whether you are fit for a PhD or no, and if you are fit for a part-time or full-time PhD. The entire framework is free and I have linked it in the description as usual. Do not forget to answer the quiz so that you are better prepared for your future. A part-time PhD is not for everyone, which is a good thing. But if you do it with the right mindset, correct strategy, and proper structure, then no one and nothing can stop you from climbing the ladder of success. Once you answer the questionnaire that I had mentioned, you want to enroll for a PhD, the first step for you is to prepare for the interview. And I have done this video about it. And I promise it is the only video that you will ever need about preparing for a PhD admission interview. I'll see you there. Don't forget to download the questionnaire and I'll see you in my next video. Till then,